It's been a while since we did a recruiting video, but I know you all are going to be really excited about this one. The Gators are on the verge of bringing in more top talent, and the payoff from the huge win in the Swamp against the Vols is going to be massive. Okay, currently we have the number 3 ranked class overall. So how high can it get? I think UF is going to take some massive swings, and we're going to talk about some of the guys that they are going after in just a moment. But first of all, let's talk for a second about Billy Napier. I don't know if you saw the pictures on social media, Twitter, Facebook, wherever, but Napier was out on Saturday night, middle of the field, recruiting until almost midnight. The pictures I saw were like timestamped 11:47 p.m. and later than that. These are guys that came into town to watch this game and then hung around to spend some time with Napier. And I mean, listen, he could be out celebrating this huge win. He could be home with his family. There's a million other things he could be doing, but Billy Napier chose to be recruiting because for Billy Napier, it is always recruiting season. And this win is going to go a long way into keeping that class together and in the top 5. All summer, folks were saying, how can UF hold on to this class if their win-loss record is projected at 5.5? Don't forget, that's what ESPN had us at before the season started. Well, did you catch a glimpse of Saturday night? It is the best game day atmosphere in college football when the Swamp is rocking on a Saturday night. And it absolutely was against Tennessee. Did you happen to look at the recruit section if you were at the game or if the TV cameras panned over there? Recruits were going nuts. Their parents were high-fiving. They were singing "Don't Back Down." Everybody was 100% bought in. Those recruits were blown away at what they were watching. And then you listen to some of the interviews that they gave to beat writers afterwards, and they continued to sing Florida's praises, Billy Napier's praises, Austin Armstrong's praises, talked about the direction this team was headed, how big of a win that was, how crazy and loud the stadium was. This stadium recruits and sells itself when it is at its best. And Gator fans, y'all were at your best on Saturday night. So what about the rest of the season? Listen, there are some big games coming up. This weekend, obviously, Florida plays Charlotte. That's going to be a win. Then they go to Lexington to take on Kentucky. We're going to talk more about this game next week, obviously, but this is a very winnable football game for the Gators. And if they beat both Tennessee and Kentucky one season after having dropped to both of them, that is going to be huge for Billy Napier, proving that he is moving this program in the right direction. Then Florida comes home and they've got Vanderbilt. That is a win, guys. Florida's not going to trip up against Vanderbilt 2 seasons in a row. It's a win. South Carolina, that's another very winnable football game. If Florida plays their cards right, if they play like they did against Tennessee, they will be heading into Georgia 6-1. Listen, I'm not going to sunshine pump y'all. Georgia is going to be a tough football game. I think before the season, I would have said that it's an automatic loss. After watching them struggle for a while with South Carolina, I do think that there's a chance Georgia's beatable this season. It's going to be really tough for that to happen for Florida, though. We are going to have to play our best football of the season, and Georgia is going to have to not play their best football of the season. But I think going into the Georgia weekend at 6-1 is really plausible, and that is something that a lot of people would not have predicted going into this season. And it is showing that the program is moving in the right direction, regardless of what happens in that game in Jacksonville. After Florida, Georgia, Arkansas comes to town. That's a very winnable game for the Gators as well. Then they play Missouri. They do have to go to Columbia, which has not been a place that Florida has done well recently. It's cold. A lot of times that kick is really early, but that is still a very winnable football game for the Gators. Then they've got LSU and Florida State. And let me tell you, they seem more winnable now than they did at the beginning of the season, just like the Georgia game. But even if you split these, let's say you go 1-1, you have got to be excited about the way this team finishes the season if that happens. And truly, if they lose all three of Georgia, LSU, and Florida State, but they win the rest of the schedule, I still think that makes this a darn good season. That would leave the Gators at 8-4, which is on the high end of what pretty much anybody predicted them to be. I predicted it. I think that would be a huge success. Now listen, just because games are winnable, it does not mean that UF has a cakewalk. There are some things that they need to clean up, and we'll talk about that, but we'll do that in another video. Both the floor and the ceiling have been raised for this Gator team, and the win against Tennessee could not have been any better for recruiting. It could not have gone any better. This was huge. Beating Tennessee in front of 90,000 fans was so important because it proved two things that Billy Napier has been selling. One, we have the best fans and the best environment in the nation. Nothing tops the swamp when the swamp is at its best. And then, of course, number two, probably the most important, we're on our way back, okay? The Gators are not back. I'm not sitting here saying that, but they are moving in the right direction. This is proof that Billy Napier's plan is starting to work. The foundation that he laid is a good one, and we are seeing progress. And listen, he can then sell to these recruits, look, you can see the plan is working, but come to Gainesville and help put us over the top. Help us complete the mission. You are the missing piece to help us get back to that place that we want to be, and that's winning SEC and national championships. And when you beat teams like Tennessee in the way that they did on Saturday night, it's a heck of a lot easier to pitch to these recruits that you're just a couple players away from being there, because that's what it looks like. That's what it looked like on Saturday night. So let's talk about some of the very top targets on the Gators wish list. And listen, some of these are big swings, but Billy Napier has done such a good job recruiting so far that he's in a position where he can take some huge swings. And even if he misses, it's okay because this class is very, very strong. I know somebody very high on their list is LJ McCray. LJ McCray is a 5-star defensive lineman in the 2024 class after a ratings bump from On3. That happened just this last week. He went from a 4-star to a 5-star. He's now the number 8 player in the country, according to their rankings. And he is a local kid. He's basically from the Gators' backyard. He's from Mainland High School in Daytona Beach. 6'6", 260 pounds. He was in the swamp for the Tennessee game. He saw it. He felt it. He knows. And in a recent interview, he talked about how he talks to every team in his top 5 every single day. And, I think this is going to come down to UF or Georgia for now, but I love where the Gators sit. I know that the Gators really feel comfortable with where they are with him. He loves Billy Napier. He loves this program. He does have a visit to FSU set up in a couple weeks, so we'll monitor that. But pulling this local kid in would be a huge pickup for UF. And did you see our defense? Who doesn't want to come play for Austin Armstrong? I was about to suit up. Everybody should want to come play for him. And the progress he's made with Florida's defense in one offseason has been astounding. After LJ McCray, we want his teammate, Zay Mincy, 6'2.5", 175 pounds, also from Mainland High School. He is a 4-star safety. And listen, he's the 79th player overall from 24/7. He is a really good piece of the puzzle as well. And you've got to think that they're communicating constantly with each other. They play on the same team. They may want to play together in college. And Florida still feels like they're in the driver's seat here. Miami is not letting up, though, and they will continue to push. FSU is also involved here a little bit, but I do believe it'll come down to the Gators and the Hurricanes. But Zay Mincy is a really talented kid, and he would solidify Florida's secondary class for sure, be a huge pickup. Another guy that would be a massive pickup, both literally and physically, is Jordan Seaton. He is the top interior lineman in the 2024 class, according to On3 industry rankings. He's 6'5", 295 pounds out of Washington, D.C., but he attends IMG Academy right here in Sarasota. He's got Ohio State, Alabama, Florida State, Colorado, and Florida all in it for him. One of the things that I think could give UF an edge, though, is that they have those two offensive line coaches. It's something that Seton has talked about being really attracted to him. We know that has been a big to-do for other guys on our list. That's how we landed Fletcher Westphal, or at least was a piece of the puzzle. He loved the fact that Rob Sale and Darnell Stapleton both coached the O-line. He loved the fact that they were both very involved with his recruitment. So I would assume it's exactly the same for Jordan Seton. And I don't know if you follow social media at all, but he mentioned DJ Lagway and then our next guy on the list, who we'll get to, in a tweet this week when he was asked about what it would take to get him to the Swamp. And of course, the guy with DJ Lagway that would help get Jordan Seton to the Swamp is the biggest fish that we're probably going after, Jeremiah Smith. He is verbally committed to Ohio State. He committed to them back on December 14th of 2022. He's a 5-star wide receiver, considered the 24/7 composite number 2 overall player this recruiting cycle so far. He is the top wide receiver in the nation. He stands at 6'3", weighs 198 pounds. He plays football at Shamadan Madonna Prep in South Florida. He has been crushing in his season this year so far. He caught 58 passes for 1,073 yards and 20 touchdowns last season in 2022. He has been crushing it this season in high school. And one of the things that he's said all along is he needs to see how UF looks this year. And though he wasn't in the Swamp, you have to think that performance against Tennessee didn't hurt UF's chances at all. So what'll happen down the stretch? Can UF go 4-4? Can they go 2 out of 4? Any additions to this already top 3 class is going to take it to a completely different level. Because of the work that Napier and staff have done in this class already, and because of the work that they're now aiming to do on the field, this class could truly be one of the most special that UF has seen in a very long time. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There is nothing like the Swamp at night, especially for a huge rivalry game. Some of these guys experienced that in person. Some of them saw it on TV. Others will get to experience it later in the year. But as much as Napier and Lagway and Katie and others that are involved in recruiting can say their pitch, nothing recruits quite like the Swamp. And the Swamp was cranking on Saturday night. We spoke with Steve Harris about that, and if you missed it, you can click right here to get caught up.